like to say technology, but it's pretty simple technology, really. Hi, dads. Happy Father's Day. How you doing? We start today, dads, with something that you all know well. Being a dad is easy, right? It is true, actually. Pretty much any bloke can obtain the title of dad. It's just a matter of biology, really. But being a good dad, well, that is not so easy. Getting it right 24/7, when I'm tired, in a rush, or overwhelmed with the stresses of life, it's not easy being perfect. Things are going along well, and then, yet again, I've let the frustrations boil over. How much can my kids cope with this occasional and probably too occasional grumpy version of me? Can they forgive me yet again? And how many more songs about hamsters on pianos or baby sharks can I listen to before I do permanent damage to my mental well-being? Do I really need to like Taylor Swift's music? Can I have another conversation about Mako mermaids and remain truly engaged? And now, yet again, I've chosen to do something else when my kids are really wanting to spend time with me. And there are the feelings of shame or personal disappointment after a less than loving moment. The hum of guilt that's whispering away in my brain. And the constant doubt I carry about the quality of my parenting. When I look at my parenting moments through the lens of the fruit of the Spirit, which, as many of you know, are listed in Galatians chapter 5, the fruit of love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, faithfulness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control, and I look at my parenting through that lens, ouch. Now, I got pinged last time I spoke for using the less than commonly used forbearance rather than patience when I talked about the fruit of the Spirit. It's not very plain English of me, and I acknowledge that. And it was fair feedback, because even though it is the more correct translation, what does forbearance even mean? So, as I stubbornly plan to keep using the word, just quickly, it means deliberately holding back from acting harshly or delivering immediate judgment, showing patience and restraint towards others, and reflecting God's own merciful withholding of deserved punishment. It is really patience on steroids. And forbearance is something I really need in my journey as a dad. Because when I think, as I said before, about the fruit of the Spirit in my parenting, it's a hard reflection on how I'm going. And as for forbearance, again, ouch. Self-control, another fruit of the Spirit. Well, I don't know what happened. The words just spilled out. And then there's agape, the standard of love we need to meet with our kids. Loving without expecting anything back. I mean, God, come on, give me a break. At times, my sense of failure becomes no longer a moment in time, but a state of being. It's pretty depressing, isn't it? Because it's not actually that I'm a bad parent, but you really need to ask my kids and my wife Lou if you want an informed opinion on that. It's just the standard I use myself, and it's often unconsciously is the perfect dad. For example, if you can see my t-shirt, Bandit Healer, perfect dad. If I try to be like Bandit, it's quite depressing and in fact it's just not realistic. Perfection is not an option. And I expect this idea of trying to be perfect as a parent, it's not just me. I expect it's not just all dads. And I expect you mums know what I'm talking about too. And I expect actually all of us can relate to this. When we think about those close relationships we have in life, we do our best. The standard we often set for ourselves, particularly as Christians, when the pressure is on and life is coming at us like a flood, is just too high. As parents, perfection is not an option. It just isn't. We're simply human. However, when we get it wrong with our kids, apologising, dusting ourselves off and trying again, well, these are realistic options. This is what our commitment to our kids needs to be. To keep on trying and to keep making every effort to be the best parent that we can. Now, you notice I don't have, that's not my PowerPoint, but I don't have a PowerPoint display because I'm having a point of power instead today. I've organised a local panel of experts on parenting to come in and share some insights, and particularly insights on what it is to be a good dad. So I'd like to invite that panel of experts down now. We're going to ask them a few questions. So if they could join me up here now. And for those that, I'm not sure all of them are here, but can the victims, sorry, the dads, can they just put their hands up so we know who the connections are? Yes, there's a third one here who's done a brother, doesn't want to hear this. So I'll just pop this out. So for those that don't know, can I close actually? We have, just pop your hand up, all right, same name, Caitlin Elgie, Aaron Catuli, and Hugh Bloomfield. I'm just going to run through some questions. They're going to give you some real insights into their dads, their everyday dads that are connected to these guys. And we just thought on Father's Day, we just give them this opportunity to talk about their dads, their experience with their dads, and to throw them under the bus. So, Hugh, I'll start with the first question going to you. What is something funny that your dad has done or done to himself?
Alright, so early last year, my dad was in an Agatha Christie for the Theatre Royal, and Playhouse, sorry, and he was the detective, I can't speak, sorry, and he had to have a certain hairstyle for it. This hairstyle was handlebars. So he had grown out his beard and his moustache, his goatee as well, but then he cut the goatee, cut the sideburns, and all he had left was this horrendous moustache, which did not fit him, was not flattering, did not look good, and should never ever be done again.
Thanks, Hugh. You go to Katie. Yeah, handlebar moustaches, you tend to look a bit like Chopper Reed, I think. Good look. Okay.
Well, it was a bit hard to think because my dad thinks he's the funniest person on the planet. So he was giving me all these examples. But there was one time that came to my mind, not his. When I was really little, I grabbed a ballpoint pen and how you wrap yourself around your dad's leg. I drew like a chicken on his leg, and the next day he forgot it was there and went into work with shorts so like everyone could see it. And everyone was like, nice tattoo. So, that would have to be it.
Thanks, Katie. Aaron.
Right, this is going to get interesting. I feel like I have a lot of stories that I could pick from, and it was very hard selecting them. So I'm just going to do a quick highlight reel. I think it's quite good. I mean, his favourite pastime is just annoying his children, and then he'd wind you up and he'd say, "Oh, the fishing's good around here." He'd do that a lot. When he answered the phone, he does this still to this day. he'll answer the phone and go, City Morgue, you kill him, we chill him. So that's really positive. When we used to do lots of trips to Bishano, and he would forget to have us put on sunscreen when we were quite little. And when my mum wasn't there, we'd then come home and he'd be like, right, everyone in long sleeves, long pants, middle of summer, so she could never find out that our whole arms were just red. That was fun. But I think one thing that I'll never forget that was told around the dinner table one day was when my dad was a young lad of about 9 or 10 years old, he was alone in his backyard and he saw a snake in the grass and he thought, oh, well, that's, it's dangerous, we've got to handle that. So instead of, I don't know, calling his dad or waiting until his dad got home or doing any of a number of things, he bit the snake in half and tossed it on the roof. And he told his dad about it when his dad came home, and his dad was not too happy with him just because he said, why did you throw it on the roof? We could have kept it and council could have cut our grass for free. So I think that was pretty good.
Thanks. I may not be back at Grace from now on. But while we've got you, everyone, following on from that, what's one of the favourite memories that you have of your dad, or times that you regularly spend with your dad?
I think growing up, just doing a lot of trips with him, he'd take me to the grocery, he'd bribe me, he'd say, he'd give me $2, and I used to go and buy a push pop that was $2.16, and he never knew me. Felt like a rebel growing up. But we'd grocery shopping, we'd go to the beach, that was enjoyable. He pretended the water wasn't cold when it definitely was. And going up to Bishano, I think they were some of the big memories, just spending time together. It was good.
Hugh?
About every term break or so, Dad and I would always head up to the mountain or somewhere like that and go on a bushwalk, and I think it was just a good bonding time, as well as just time well spent out in nature with him, just getting to do what we enjoy and being free of all the worries of other stuff. Just being up on the mountain, looking out at Hobart, seeing the lovely view, the waterfront. It's really, really enjoyable just to spend time with him and do that.
Again, he was giving me lots of examples. But growing up, I'd have to say, we used to go fishing a lot. And I remember there was this one time, I was like, hey Dad, can we go fishing? And he was like, I don't ever actually get to do anything. I'm just too busy tying all the knots and everything, because there used to be so many of us kids going that he was just full on just untangling the fishing lines and tying new hooks on it. But like more recently, I'd have to say we go out spearfishing every now and then, which is really fun. So
Cool. I can relate to that with the fishing gear. Yeah, I'm happy to fish. Katie, thinking about the fruit of the spirit, is there one that your dad you think particularly nails? Where is he fruitiest?
well, for the record, he told me to say he is the best fruit salad around. But I would probably say probably kindness, because he has a seemingly endless supply for the people around him, especially the kids in like kids' church and brigade and all that stuff. So I'd say kindness.
Thanks. Erin?
Well, I was going to say not patience, but then you went on this big spiel about what forbearance is. I feel like that's a bit too mean to say that, so I'm not going to say that. I think I was going to, go with your answer that's just love, but I thought that was a bit boring. So I decided to pick joy. I think he's a very joyful person, at times too joyful, making some jokes that he probably shouldn't be making. But I think that he just had a very positive outlook growing up, and it was good. Like, if I was crashing out or anything, I could go and talk to him, and he'd just have a different perspective that I appreciated. So, yeah.
My dad is a very patient person, and he always tries to see the best in people. except for like world leaders that do bad things like we ignore those ones. But he fits quite a lot of them. But if he were to nail one, it would probably be forbearance. He is a great person to be around. If he gets a bit annoyed, he's able to deal with that, and because of his willingness to see the best in everyone, he's just someone who is a role model to me and that I look up to every day and I respect with the highest honour I can.
Thanks. That's great.
What do they cost you, Dave?
Well, we've got you. So just to flip things a little bit from your dads to just dads, generally future dads, even granddads. In terms of, if you could say one thing to them about what their kids probably most want from them, what would it be?
Spend time doing what they enjoy doing. So this isn't just for dads, it's for parents, mothers and fathers in general. Focusing on what they enjoy is a massive part of it, because if you're just saying, oh, let's do this or this or this, they're not doing what they want. And even if you're not really interested about it, even if you don't really care about it, spending time with them about what they enjoy, that's what means the most to kids, is time spent about what they like and is their passion.
That's great, Keith. Thanks. Yeah, Katie. So I have to keep engaging with hamster on the piano. Yeah, on repeat. Yeah, okay. Good to know.
I'd say probably just someone who listens and like makes them feel heard, which kind of joins up with Hugh's because you've got to listen to them to know what they're interested in. So
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thanks, Katie. Erin.
Same kind of vein as what they were saying. My big thing, especially growing up and moving out and getting older, is that I always feel like it's good to be able to call up my dad and just have a chat to him, and I feel like that's something that I really valued, and I think that dads should value just being there for your kids to talk to them without judgment or anything.
Yeah.
And you can, you just know that they're always going to be there for you, which is, I think, very good.
Brilliant. I'll give you one last opportunity though. I'm not going to give the dads a right of response, so I can do that at another time. Is there anything else you want to say, just generally, about your dads or dads? You don't have to, because it's a question about notice.
I'm trying to think, there's too many stories to throw up under the bus.
He's an alright dad, as much as I say, Drew. No, I think that, I don't know where I was going with this, I've completely lost my train of thought. But, I don't know, I think just with dads in general, just showing your kids that you love them and that you always be for them no matter what, I think is the big thing. As long as your kids feel supported, they're going to do well, I think.
Thanks. Anyone else? No? All right. Can we give them a... I think for me, the bit at the end about what's the one thing you want to say. I think, I know how I feel at times about how I am as a dad. But I think that one of the things about really listening and spending time with your kids is that, for me, quite often, it actually makes me feel better about being a dad, not the reverse. It's not that I don't have difficult times with my kids, but I think that reflection back sometimes is good. Even I've only got one kid with me today out of 3, but I did run through this yesterday, and my kids were listening to it. And when I got to the bit about, it's not that I'm a bad parent, Emily said, "No, you're a good parent," which was really lovely. And I know I do my best, and I'm certainly in life I commit to being the best I can be. But the whole point of today is the fact that even when you commit to being the best that you can be, that can slip into a very high standard that makes it difficult to come back from getting it wrong. But that's what we need to do. I mean, for the parents here, you know your kids are so important. And you know building them up and encouraging them and supporting them is so important. And if that's your starting point, if your commitment is, I just want to love my kids as best I can, don't beat yourself up for what you didn't get right. Because the more you just focus on what you do next, because that's all you can control, to just keep learning, keep doing better, keep giving it to God. That's the thing that makes a difference. Two of the best assets we have in our hope to be the best parents that we can be are our continued effort to just keep going again. But also, and this ties back to what the fruits of the Spirit is relying on the promise of transforming power, the transforming power of the Spirit of God in our lives. You know, one of the things I really believe in the concept of trying. To just keep going. I think that is a human thing. We can't be perfect, but we can keep trying. And as you do when you prepare for things like this, I thought, well, where's that verse that really talks about trying? It's probably not a verse that really does, but it is a really strong theme in the Bible. If you read through the prophets consistently call the Israelites to return to God, return to Him. And really, in effect, it's come back to me and try again. Try and get it right this time. The cycle of repentance, that basically turning away from things that we get wrong, from our wrong actions. But really, in doing that, deep down, knowing that we're actually going to fail in some way again. I mean, that reflects this art of trying and trying again, but knowing that we'll be forgiven. And Paul, when you read through Paul's letters, his calls to, for example, not grow weary of doing good, to persevere, to endure, it all speaks of continued effort. And as a parent, I just encourage you to keep going, keep trying. That needs to be our commitment to our kids, even if they're adult kids, which sometimes it does have its unique challenges to it. And then secondly, the Spirit of God's commitment, that's the keeping trying that really needs to be our commitment to our kids, but the Spirit of God's commitment to us as parents is to continually make us better at what we do through a process that's called sanctification, which a number of you would be familiar with, which is the progressive ongoing work of the Spirit of God in us to transform us into the likeness of Jesus. To be parents that reflect Jesus. It's the role of the Spirit to help us to be more than human, to make our efforts full of fruit and coloured by the divine. Guilt, shame and regret, whether it's as parents or just in life, they're powerful forces in our lives. And they can really bring us to a screeching halt in life and stop us from making that decision to keep going and to try again. But we need to do whatever we can to turn up again and again and again with our intent always to do our best. There's the Spirit of God who can help us to be that, to help us to be more than just typical mums and dads. There's the Spirit of God who helps us to be super, which I talked about last time I spoke, which is basically just that Spirit of God helping us to be above and beyond the normal, to be superhuman, not to be a superhero, but to be more than we possibly can be by ourselves. It's the Spirit of God that can help us to be super dads and super mums. So my encouragement to all of us, dads or mums, or none of the above, is to know that God is for you and that God is helping you in ways seen and unseen to do better. And secondly, just to give yourselves a break. Accept your lack of perfection. You know, and in terms of our faith, we are made perfect, we are not perfect. It's God that makes up the difference, not us. So accept our lack of perfection. Keep turning up and try to be the best version of ourselves, because your kids and the kids in your lives will thank you.